What's up everybody, Renfail here. Welcome back to another Baldur's Gate 3 guide, and for those of you who are jumping into the PlayStation 5 and getting ready to jump into the Xbox later this year, good news. I've been playing with the controller ever since it launched on the PC a month or so ago, and I got a ton of controller guides here on the channel, and if you've ever watched any of my streams, which happen daily at 11 a.m., I play exclusively with the controller, even though I do play on the PC. Now that the game is out on the PS5 and coming down the pipeline for the Xbox, it's time to dive into some more controller guides. So today we're getting right into it with the 5 tips that I have for people who are just getting into the game for the first time with the controller, because it's a lot of fun. I think it's a better way to play Baldur's Gate 3, and I think Larian Studios has done an exceptional job with controller support for this game. And of course, those of you who are on the PC can always stick to your mouse and keyboard if you want. But for those of you who are on the consoles, this is where it's at, baby, right here. All right, let's dive in, everyone. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Join the Discord. Links are down below. Check out all the other playlists and, of course, the daily streams. Without further ado, let's get in and talk controller. Now, the great thing about movement on the controller is that it is super fluid, and you can quickly spin the camera around your character with the right thumbstick, and to move around, you just use the left thumbstick accordingly. And right now we are in the closest view you can have, which is essentially just over the shoulder of the character or right behind the character, depending on how you want to position. But I also have the configuration set up so that the camera auto follows my character like this, so it's always going to sort of spin around to behind the character, but you can, of course, choose to manually spin the camera however you want. Now, depending on the POV that you want, you can pull the camera out from the character by simply pressing down on that keypad, and you can go in increments if you just want to hit 1 click, 2 click, and I'm just pushing down, 3 click, 4 click, 5 click, and 6 click. Now, it's not doing anything, and the reason is because we've hit the maximum distance here. But if we want to go into the top-down view or the optical view, you know, if you want that traditional view of top-down, you have to hold down on the thumbstick. So just hold down, and it will go into the overhead view for your character so that you can have that optimal view for combat, that bird's eye view. And then to go back down into the regular camera, you just push down, and it'll swing back down in all the way, depending on how far you want to go in. But again, you can go in and out at your leisure like so, and you can just hold back to get into the overhead view like so. And then when you're running around, you can also pull the camera out, pan it around, all of these things. It's a great way to play the game. I've loved the controller on this game. I think it's one of the best ways to play Baldur's Gate 3, and it's really the controller guy in me really wishes I could go back to Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2 and also have controller support, but you know, those games are really old, so it'll probably never happen. But that's a quick tip here for controlling the movement of your character. Now, that's just movement, because beyond this, if you want to scout ahead, like I might be able to see up there, but if I have my camera panned out, the angle changes and I can't necessarily see out ahead of me anymore. Well, one of the ways you can do that is you can click down on the left here, on the left thumbstick, just click down, and you're going to go into free look mode, which then gives you a mouse cursor that you can move around as you will, and to move this around the map like you would a traditional mouse. Now, there is a limit to how far you can go based on distance to your character, but you do have quite a bit of range. This is a great tool to go ahead and center around your character. And then, of course, to just turn it off, you can just go over here, just just left click again, and it will immediately center back on your character, which is a great way to scout out and then quickly go back to your character to maneuver your party accordingly. Next up is a fun one, because I actually didn't know this until I was pretty deep into gameplay, and somebody hopped onto one of my streams and was like, hey, did you know you could do this? And I went, what? So I'm passing that on now to everybody else. So you can examine targets in this game and get a better understanding of what buffs they have on them, what resistances they have, their stats, their hit points, and everything else. And there's a couple of different ways to do it. The quick way, which is the way that I didn't know about until later, is that when you have a person targeted, either indirectly or directly. Well, what do I mean by directly or indirectly? So right now I have nobody targeted, but if I face in the direction of this particular character and move up close to them, I will then have them targeted. Now you can also, in combat scenarios, you'll be able to do snap to targeting by hitting left or right on the thumb pad here, and that'll snap to targets. But otherwise you can do this indirect targeting. You can also go into mouse look mode and choose to manually move it over and then click on the character or just have it over the character so that you see the title showing up and the highlight around them. Now, once this has happened, there's two ways you can do this. The manual way is to bring up the context menu, which on the Xbox controller is the X button, or on the PlayStation controller, it is the square button. And once you hit that, you're going to bring up a context menu, giving you the variety of options that you can use with this particular individual. And at the bottom is the examine button. You just scroll down and then hit either the A button on the Xbox controller or the X button on the PS5 controller to examine, and that will bring up this particular window. But there is an easier way to do that, which is just when you have the person targeted directly or indirectly, just very quickly tap down on the thumb pad and it brings up this window. That's the quick tip, but there are a couple of different ways you could do it. And from here, you can go in here and you can look at all the various stats. So we see he's got 139 hit points, right now only 44. He's got 21 AC. These are his stats. He has fire resistance, endurance by fire. He has great weapon fighting, improved extra attack. He's got magical plate, opportunity attack, phalanx formation, stirring execution, and then down here we can see his initiative, movement, speed, size, weight, carry capacity, so on and so forth. And you know, it's if you want to go up here and like choose to investigate, say something else, you'll notice that when you have a stat highlighted, it says inspect. You could just open up the window and inspect Constitution more if you want to. But that's a quick tip on how to inspect mobs or friends, allies, it doesn't really matter, anybody that you have targeted, also any objects that you have targeted, like a candle over here. We could do it with the candle as well. So it's not just NPCs, it's any interactable object, player character, or non-player character in the game can be examined. And it's really cool with some of the assets too, because if you like come in here and look at, I don't have... Like here's a stained towel pile, and we could take a look at what that looks like. But there's also things like, I don't see her in front of me right now, but Karlach has like a plushy bear and stuff, and so you can go in and inspect things. But even things like a stool here, we can come in and you can look at the assets that the team has created. And in many cases, you'll be able to come in here and look at the fine details. Like you can see the nails on this thing and the wooden dowels and everything else they've done. So it's a great way to take a closer look at the artwork that the team has put so much love into. Now, stealth is a huge component of this game, regardless of which class you are playing. I know that sounds weird, but in order to get around in this game, anytime you go into stealth mode, you can see the POV of the various targets, or the line of sight of the various enemies and player characters around you. So this person's looking at us right now, as an example, so we're probably too close to have that show up. But if I were to come over here and go into sneak, and we're going to talk about how you go into sneak here in just a second. But if we go into sneak, you're going to notice that that red line of sight is the line of sight of the enemy. And I don't need any specific stealth ability to avoid that red line of sight. I can just move my character around this accordingly with my party in tow and just avoid that line of sight, and we can essentially sneak around. Now, characters who have sneak can go into the red and avoid detection because their stealth is much higher, so they will succeed at the hide and sneak rolls. So, how do you go into stealth? Well, there's two things you need to understand here. One is that there's party stealth, and then there's single player or single target stealth. Now, if you want to do single target stealth, you'll have to separate your character out from the party, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But essentially, all you do is you hold down on the thumb pad. So just as much as you would tap down, as an example, going up here, and so a tap down to inspect, we talked about that just a minute ago. Instead of tapping down, we would hold down, and holding down is what puts us into that sneak mode. Now you'll notice we're sneaking everyone right now because we're all selected in the group. And sometimes you might want to send your primary character out ahead, or whoever you have. Maybe you have a rogue in your party or someone who has a stealth benefit. Or maybe you just want to do some scouting. So the way that you do that, and this is going to change slightly depending on whether or not you're on an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller, but essentially it's the left trigger. If you look over here, above my character profile right there, it says LT. So just hit the LT button. That's going to bring up this party member right here, a party window, I should say. Now, from here, you're going to look down at the bottom, and let me get rid of my face for a minute so that we can see this a little better here. Quick commercial break, everyone, to give a shout out to all of these amazing people who are the guild champions at the highest tiered membership here on our channel. And of course, all of the members who help keep me full time and doing this for your enjoyment. If you would also like to become a member, you get access to tons of special stuff like live stream, member only chat, private videos for our members several times a week. It's really simple. Just pick your tier, go from there. You can also do super chats or super thanks on any stream, YouTube short, or video that you see. Don't forget the Discord. Links are down below. Let's get back to the video. There we go. We didn't need to seed me in the first place. So down here on the bottom, you're going to see 4 buttons. Now I'm on an Xbox controller, so it's going to look slightly different if you are on the PlayStation 5. But A is select, which is X on the PlayStation 5. X is the group up button, also the square button on the PS5. That is to group up the companions. And the B button or the O button on the PlayStation 5 controller is to cancel the action. But what we really want to look at here is the Y button on the Xbox controller or the triangle button on the PS5 controller. This is what splits party members out. So I would choose the party member I want. In this case, we'll go with my druid, and I'm going to hit that button to split them out, and they are now separate from the rest of the group. Now I need to make sure that they are selected, so we're going to do that right now. And now I'm only controlling this one character. All right. Now if I want to sneak, it'll only do this character and it'll leave everybody else behind. This is highly useful in strategic situations to go up and like get into a conversation with the target to distract him, or to initiate combat with the one character while you then have the rest of your party sneak out and go around and do flanking and etc. But you don't have to do just one character. You could do 1, 2, or 3. And it's the same principle. The first thing I would do is I would go down here and I would choose to group him back up with the rest of the party, like so. And then I would say, well, let's split him out. Let's split him out, and let's split her out. Well, now they are individually split out. Now all 4 of these are split out. But what if I want to group up 2 of the characters? Well, I would hit that group button, move it up to the character I want to group them with, and hit the group button again, and now these 2 are joined. Now I could do the same thing down here and have these 2 joined. Then if I select one of these, I have 2 characters that will go off and do their own thing, while the other character members, if I select them, will go off and do their own thing in a different direction. And again, you could do this however you want. We can take these and rejoin them, or I can come in here and say, I want to split Gale out, like so, and I want to have him join the rest of the group up here. And now I've got 3 party members, and Gale is automatically going to run down here and join us because now he's part of the group. So that's a really quick and easy tip on how to group, ungroup, split, and unsplit your characters to strategically move them around the battlefield at your will. Now I've got a separate guide for the radial menus and separate guides for looting and inventory management and everything else. But one of the things that I often get people asking in the comment section of my videos is, how do I access like all the character information from my sheet so I can go check out the inventory and all these other things, right? So that's actually a lot of fun because the radial menus are brought up by the bumpers. So, you know, left and right bumpers bring up the radial menus. But how do I get to the character window that shows all of my stats and everything? So that is the right trigger. It doesn't matter which controller you're on. The right trigger is going to bring up this context menu right here. And this context menu is filled with a ton of information. So you can go to camp from this menu. You can do a long rest from this menu. You could go to your combat log. You can go to your journal. You can use your illithid powers from here or access them. You can access your spell book. You can access your character sheet and your inventory and everything else, which is what we're going to check out here in just a second. You can access the alchemy tab, waypoints to travel around the map, open the map directly from here. You can go into turn-based mode, and you can also do short rests. Now, a lot of these functions you can do through other controls. As an example, I don't need to go here to open up the map. I can just hit the button and open up the map accordingly, like so, the menu button. But really what we want to look at here is the character sheet. This is the one that everyone wants to know about. How do I get to my character sheet, which is the inventory? So again, it's the right trigger, go up. It's right at the character sheet. From here, you're going to hit the A button on the Xbox controller or the X button on the PS5, which is the select button, and you're going to be able to go straight from here and go boom. Now you're in your character's inventory window, and across the top, you're going to notice things like characteristics, reactions, proficiencies, statistics, so on and so forth. You're also going to see all this information laid out on the right-hand side for your character's stats, hit points, temporary hit points, all those things, movement speed, And then you can get into the filters and everything else if you need to from here. And again, I've got a video from early access of inventory management, and I've got a new inventory management video coming out, so you'll want to stick around for that because there's a ton of information. Because with patch 2, they just added a bunch of new filters, which is awesome for like the rare, very rare, and legendary. But I don't want to confuse the subject with this particular video because we were just dealing with 5 tips for this one. Now, obviously, playing with a controller is a pretty complex subject because there are a ton of additional commands and context menus and things that you can do with the controller. And that's why you need to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so that you never miss an update because I do Baldur's Gate 3 videos and guides every single day. We do 3 to 5 videos every single day, not just on Baldur's Gate 3, but other games like Starfield, Cyberpunk, older games like Star Wars: The Republic, Lord of the Rings Online, and so on and so forth. So if all that sounds good to you, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Join our Discord so you can hang out with our community. Also, you can join as a member, get access to private videos and beyond. And hopefully, we'll see you in the next video or live streams, which happen daily at 11 a.m. Central Time. Until next time, everybody, stay safe and happy gaming. And to those of you who are joining with the PS5 and getting ready to join with the Xbox, welcome to Baldur's Gate 3, everyone.